What's going on, Tamers? East here. I just want to give a big thank you first of all to all the folks who left those warm and kind birthday wishes in my last Meta Report video. It really did help to heal my little Royal Knight's brutalized heart. And so again, I just want to give a big shout out to all the folks who did say happy birthday. But that was the past, and now we need to focus on the future, which includes the release of BT21's World's Convergence at the end of this week in Asia. And that means that this is going to be the last Meta Report video for this post-ban BT20 environment. This week was also special because it housed a lot of the store qualifiers on the road to the World Championships for Japanese players. And as I mentioned last week, I'm a little bit sad that we're not going to have more time with this post-ban BT20 environment because things are actually changing quite a bit. We saw the emergence of one of the decks actually hit by the restricted list last week start to make a comeback. So stay tuned because we'll take a look at that and more in today's video. With that said, let's take a look at some event results, a couple of key takeaways, and a closer look at some of the decks that topped over the course of the past week. If it wasn't obvious before, then let me be the first person to tell you. The Royal Knights deck is by far and large the most popular deck in Asia right now, doing more damage to the meta than the Knights of the Round equipped with the Quadra Magic materia. You only see here that Royal Knights had 10 plus wins, but it actually had 19 total, which is more than the second most represented decks here in Sakyamon and Gallantmon combined. They both had 9 apiece if folks were actually out there wondering about the math staging. It also accounted for about a third of all of the store qualifier tournaments that happened last week as well. Folks really out here sweating for them dubs. I think most folks felt that with the new restriction list updates, it was all but over for the Velgamon Loop deck, but this crow has turned Phoenix and risen from the ashes within this past week with a cool 6 wins. I think with the hits to the Jack Rate option card, restricting it to 1 per deck, plus the complete banning of the Mat Tamer, players have started to get really creative with their builds, but now it's starting to pay off. And I'll definitely be keeping an eye on the evolution of Velgamon going into these next couple of weeks, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of the news, as well as for more Digimon card game content shuffled directly into your YouTube feed. And when you take a look at purple decks as a whole, the color still seems to be doing pretty well, with decks like 7 Great Demon Lords, Leviamon, and LordKnightmon all putting up a pretty good fight, with the latter two heavily relying on the generic Dark Animal engine. And finally, this week also saw some really wild wins at some of these store qualifying events with things like Mother the Reaper, Terriermon Good Stuff, something I've never seen before, and even Hunters, a deck we haven't seen in like a year or so, taking the dub. And keep watching because we're definitely going to take a look at some of those in today's video. You know, Royal Knights with the addition of the new Jesmon, Omekamon, Omnimon X Antibody, and Cool Boy cards have been a fearsome bunch in the game, but players are still trying to find ways to innovate the deck outside of its normal developed package, and this list here is one great example. This list opts to add in a security package utilizing cards like the option Revelation of Light as a way to give your opponent's boards blanket minus 5 KDP, and the cool part is that option activates a security effect even if it's trashed by an effect rather than just checked. It also includes copies of the EX3 Airdramon as a way to check your security and use it as a second hand to grab any cards you might need, with the added benefit that if the card is yellow, you can actually recover security. And then you can take advantage of this by utilizing the BT8 Kari Tamer as a way to gain memory whenever your security is increased. And speaking of recovery, you also have the BT20 Alphamon as a way to recover security and reduce costs with the Kari Tamer that way, while also compounding your Revelation of Lights with more DP minus from its own effect. Keen-eyed Royal Knights abusers will probably already have noticed this, but if you take a look at this list, one of the things that I think is tough is the lack of inclusion of any of the Last Guardian option cards, where this deck is essentially trading out its ability to search top cards from the deck using that option card for the Airdramon to utilize your security as a second hand. You can see that the deck is actually trying to rely less overall on the Omnimon X Antibody with only 3 copies in the deck rather than the normal 4, and so you kind of understand the trade-offs for this package. You know, with BT21's World's Convergence on the horizon, and that set including new support for this Hunters deck, I thought it'd be a really good idea to take a look at what the current evolution of Hunters looks like before that set came out. And as luck would have it, a list just fell into my lap as one of the store qualifiers that happened last week. The focus of this deck is just to push out as much damage as possible while generating card draw, memory, as well as more resources whenever your Digimon are deleted from those security attacks. This takes the form of cards like the Ukomon as a way to quickly cycle eggs every single turn and generate card draw and memory off their own effects, as well as the Tamer cards in the Yu Amano Black Tamer and the Red Taikikudo Tamer as a way to generate more card draw and memory whenever you put Digimon underneath them as sources at the start of the turn. You can also utilize the purple Yu Amano Tamer to gain both of these effects, memory and card draw, whenever you put cards underneath him once per turn. He also has that added bonus of letting you play down your Bagada Army trait Digimon and put 2 of his sources underneath them to reduce their play cost by 2 for each card you do. This results in giving you 0 cost Damimon, which you see on the top right there, alongside the promo Skull Knightmon, which you see the 2 of in the deck. And speaking of the Skull Knightmon, you can actually utilize him alongside the Shoutmon King version as a way to play down your Tamers for free in the case of the Shoutmon King version whenever he's played or digivolved into, whereas you can utilize the Skull Knightmon whenever he's deleted and then use him as a turn-stealing save by playing down the purple Yu Amano Tamer and then putting the Skull Knightmon as a save underneath him to immediately gain the effects of card draw and memory. While we're at the level 4s, the Arrestor Digimon here also let you give your Digimon or your level 3 Digimon rush even if they're played this turn by Digivolving over him and then utilizing the Tamers to stack more sources underneath him and get the rush effect for the turn. And then finally, the double security checks from cards like the level 5 Omni Shoutmon, as well as the Arrestor Digimon Superior Mode, allowing you to attack at end of turn without suspending, meaning if he's already suspended, you can just still make an attack to close the game. And if that wasn't already enough, remember you can utilize the Tamers to rest them whenever one of your Digimon Digivolves, put more cards with save underneath the sources of the evolving Digimon, and then reduce its evolution cost. One card I'm a little surprised not to see here actually is the addition of the Gingakumon Pro Mode as a way to give Digimon, for example the Damemon who were played this turn, rush immediately. Instead, this player has opted to go for the Kaiser Leomon as a way to evolve off of your U Amano Tamers to make that final swing for game. So if you're looking for a base for the Hunter's deck to beef up with those shiny new BT21 cards, then I think this list is a great starting point. Each week I allow my champion level and higher YouTube members to vote on decks they want to see featured in these meta report videos, and this week they voted to see LordKnightmon X Antibody. If you'd like to vote on decks that you want to see featured in these kinds of videos, as well as some other cool perks and bonuses like early access to my content and access to my YouTube stream bots, consider becoming a YouTube member as well. I want to give a big shout out to all the folks who do support the channel, and with that, let's take a look at LordKnightmon X Antibody. LordKnightmon is a deck that rose to popularity at the start of BT19 thanks to its relatively safe game plan of staying and raising while collecting your pieces, and then incredibly powerful offense in a single turn utilizing LordKnightmon X Antibody as a way to wipe pretty much all of your opponent's security in one go. Unfortunately, it fell out of favor for its relatively weaker defense than the more offensive Finnerlugamon Takemikazuchi deck, which provided incredible OTK potential at any point in the game. But with Finnerlugamon Takemikazuchi getting hit as a result of the latest Banlist updates, it feels like this deck is starting to see the light of day again, albeit with a more flexible upper end purple good stuff package. The deck is incredibly memory efficient, utilizing cards like the purple memory boost and the wisdom training option cards alongside the dark animal engine, cards like the Goblimon, Labramon, Dobermon X Antibody, Ogremon, Blue Marimon, as well as the Cerberusmon X Antibody. In one turn, once you've got your pieces collected, you can very quickly go up the chain to your level 6 into a LordKnightmon, and then into your LordKnightmon X Antibody to de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, and then prevent them from evolving for a turn, preventing ace plays. A newcomer to this deck at the top end is definitely going to be the new Darkdramon Ace promo card. Now, this card is super cool for its ability to de-digivolve and then delete Digimon of the lowest level on your opponent's side of the board. Great way to punish players who typically only have one Digimon with a level on their board. So, for example, Sakuyamon, who has like the 2 tokens with no level, and they have like a Shine Greymon Ruin Mode on the board, can be popped immediately with a Darkdramon Ace hard play. This also works against things like Medieval Galamon as a way to get rid of him before he can shoot your Darkdramon. Most of the Dark Animal Engine package revolves around discarding cards in order to gain memory, or playing Digimon by effects to gain more memory, which is super easy when you have tons of discard in the deck thanks to cards like the Sunamon Digimon Egg, as well as things like the Dobermon X Antibody, the Deltamon to level 4, as well as the Blue Baramon and the Cerberusmon X Antibody to level 5s. The basic LordKnightmon level 6 card also seems like a great utility piece as a way to just hard play your floodgates in the case of things like Royal Knights, where you can just hard play a Psychemon, or other decks that want to gain memory outside of Tamer effects using the Gazimon. And you know, with Finnerlugamon finally having to take a backseat, it feels like LordKnightmon and the rest of the Dark Animal Engine package could be your next purple offensive deck. Whew, and with that, I think we're going to wrap up the BT20 post-Banlist meta reports. It's kind of sad that we're not going to get more time with this. I know I said it before, but this really feels like an interesting set right now, with things like Velgamon potentially coming back. You've got like crazy decks winning like Mother D Reaper and Hunters, and also like the Terriermon Good Stuffs list. Speaking of that list, I thought about covering it in today's video, but I decided not to because the person who actually won their store qualifiers with the deck actually did an entire write-up of it and put it online. I'll put a link to that in the description below, but it's a really interesting read, and I know you probably don't speak Japanese, but you can just hit it with the old Google Translate button on the top right, and it still is pretty easily comprehensible. Yeah, I think that I'm gonna go take my Zafagamon deck and go get brutalized again by Royal Knights. Anyways, folks, I'm gonna get out of here. Before you get out of here, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care, mother son of a bitch. Without fail, Seiji. Without fail. She does it every video. She's a demon. She's got to be stopped.